Hey guys, it's Sandro here, and welcome to part 1 of the detail on this magnificent 20-year-old Mercedes-Benz S-Class 500. This S500 actually belongs to the father of a repeat client of mine who's apparently had the car almost since new, and it's his pride and joy weekend driver. So this detail is actually a present from a son to his father, which is really cool, and what's even more so great is that it's largely going to be a surprise, as his father has no idea that his beloved car is going to get a full high-end detail to try and restore it back to the condition it was the day he bought it almost 2 decades ago, while also putting in place some great protection to help maintain and preserve this car for many more years to come. Now, as a whole, this Mercedes is in great condition in and out for its age, with very low kilometers on the clock, so it's got to be one of the very best examples around. But in saying that, once we get the car into the paint correction bay, as well as getting stuck into the interior, you'll hopefully see that there is quite a bit of work to be done to aim for that like new high-end finish, which starts here in the wash bay by giving the vehicle a full decontamination in preparation for the following steps. Now, what I've discussed with the client based on the current condition of the car, his goals for the outcome and his budget is a focus on both the paintwork, which is going to undergo a light full correction process followed by a top tier ceramic coating to seal and protect the finish, as well as a full interior cleanse with extraction, steam and a deep cleaning process followed by a protective interior sealant to rejuvenate the interior cabin. So just catching up to the footage, as per usual I'm starting with the wheels, and they're getting a thorough but wheels on clean for this job. As I mention all the time, I'm using a degreaser for the tyres and wheel wells with my brushes to clean those areas, as the degreaser is just better for cleaning those surfaces, while I'm using a wheel cleaner for the actual rims, as likewise it works better at breaking down and removing the grime from the rims themselves. And you'll also notice that I firstly apply the wheel cleaner and then let it dwell before rinsing the rims down in a safe touchless manner to remove the majority of the grime before the manual clean with the brushes to prevent scratching the rims. And although the outer face of the rims aren't too bad and have obviously been regularly cleaned, and although I'm not going to be ceramic coating them, I'm still going to give them the best wheels on clean I can, and I'll also be applying a complementary sealant and tie dressing to them to help amplify and protect their finish. The next step was the pre-soak foam using a strip car wash detergent to start that whole decontamination process of softening and stripping back the dirt, road and environmental grime, as well as any existing protection in place, which was then followed by a thorough and comprehensive pressure rinse down. And as I start the physical hand wash stage, I'm just going to talk a little about this whole decontamination process. The thing I want to get across is that if you want to achieve a safe and effective decontamination result, it's important to understand that this is a process made up of steps that individually aren't going to achieve that. But placed in a complementary order, they feed off each other, and each prior step sets up the next step so that as a whole, the process achieves that goal. So let me explain. A snow foam on its own isn't going to magically strip or even remove all that much grime. But placed just before a thorough pressure rinse down, a strip car wash foam is going to greatly help soften up that grime, so the pressure rinse step is far more effective. And yes, a hand wash stage is going to remove more dirt and grime than a touchless foam and rinse. But if you don't start with that pre-soak and rinse, you're not going to remove as much grime in the hand wash stage, and you're also going to scratch the paint unnecessarily. You can also carry this on to the iron and tar removers, as well as clean the vehicle. That simply doesn't work anywhere near as well, or is anywhere near as safe if you don't remove the looser dirt and grime to start with, as they can't effectively get to those bonded particles with all the other grime in place. And just try to do paint correction on a vehicle that isn't properly and effectively decontaminated, and it just becomes a horrible, time-wasting and headache experience that many people will blame on hard to work with or finicky paint, when in reality it's most likely due to a bad decontamination process. I've been doing this for a long time, and trust me when I say that I don't like wasting time on unnecessary steps. But I also know that when I skip or rush this process, it always catches up with me down the track and actually costs me more time, grief and headache than just doing it right to begin with. I'll just end here by saying that I was a mobile detailer for many years, and it just wasn't possible for me to spend half a day or more decontaminating a vehicle or days on end correcting the paint, as I would have gone out of business within a matter of months. So I'm not trying to give bad advice for when it's not appropriate, because we do live in the real world. But what I am saying is that given the time and opportunity, there are substantial benefits to doing things right, which is extremely labour intensive, but also speaks for itself when it comes to the finished results. Next up was brushing out the plastic and rubber trims and panel crevices to help dislodge some of the trapped dirt that's hard to access and remove with a wash mitt. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's in some sense a luxury to have the time to be paid to do these little extra steps in order to obtain the best results possible. But when you're aiming for a high-end result, it does make a difference in elevating the final outcome. But then again, it also needs to be appropriate, and on a brand new car, you may find that there's really no benefit in doing this if there's no visible accumulation of dirt in those areas. After yet another pressure rinse down, I could see that any remains of existing waxes or sealants were long gone, but I could also feel a moderate amount of environmental fallout that would need to be further addressed. For this particular job, I decided to combine both my chemical and mechanical clay steps into one, by using my clay mint with NV Purify, which is both an iron and traffic film remover, as well as a clay lubricant. Now, prior experience tells me that the amount of fallout I was feeling wasn't going to be entirely removed with just chemicals, as it was more than just a light amount. But it also wasn't so much that I needed a pre-chemical treatment. So on what's also most likely a hard Mercedes paint that's less prone to clay marring, this method and product actually worked perfectly to remove the moderate amount of fallout in a timely manner. So the car was divided into sections and rinsed down after claying each individual section, as it's also important to rinse down these chemicals before they have a chance to fully dry on the paint. The final step was drying the vehicle, firstly with a microfiber towel to remove the majority of the water, which was then followed up by blowing out the trims and trapped water with compressed air before the car was placed into the paint correction bay.
Turn my opinion round. I'm trying to understand what all the fuss is about. If I admit to myself, I build my love around all the loves, paint a pretty little picture inside my head. Yeah. While all the
So onto the interior. Now as a whole, I can tell that someone has looked after this interior cabin, as apart from some very minimal wear, that is far better than you'd expect from a 20-year-old vehicle, it's in fantastic condition. And I'll also add that this car has about as much electronics as a space shuttle, and quite amazingly they all still work perfectly, which is most certainly not common in my experience. But having said that, this interior really needs a substantial deep clean to extract the carpets and fabrics, a steam clean of the intricate areas and hard surfaces, as well as addressing some scuff marks and a layer of grime on the seats and trims that should see the finish of the cabin become lighter and brighter, and my guess is that it should look almost factory new once I'm done. And the only real wear I can see is the backing foam of the floor mats, which is disintegrating and also common for some older cars with original mats of that era. Now after inspecting and removing personal items, I generally like to start with the floor mats. And although I'm not too concerned with cleaning these clear plastic protective mats, I'm still going to give them a good clean so that they don't dirty the interior after they go back in. Now, because the owner had those clear plastic mats in place, they've really helped keep the carpets on the original Mercedes mats in great condition, but they can still definitely benefit from a deep clean and extraction. After the vacuum, I'm using Shine Supply carpet cleaner at a 1:4 dilution with a Will Woolies carpet and upholstery brush to pre-treat them, which is then followed by extracting them out with my hot water extractor before letting them hang dry overnight. And as you'll hopefully see, they did come out almost like new. Now, as I continue the interior detail, I'm actually going to have a little bit of an off-topic rant, which I rarely do. There seems to be an increasing presence on social media by very few people, but with very loud voices, that feel compelled to shove their opinions down everyone's throat, criticize and call out what they believe to be shortcomings in others. For me personally, this makes up less than 1% of the people who comment on my videos, as the vast majority of at least my viewers are decent and intelligent people who understand that there are multiple ways and reasons for doing things, especially in a professional environment, and that although there certainly is a learning curve, anyone and everyone is quite capable of doing any detailing work if they set their mind to it. Failure is a part of success, and if you're afraid to fail, you're simply never going to succeed. But I'm also noticing on other channels that creators are starting to stop making certain content due to the fear of backlash or just not wanting to deal with it. And I think it's a real shame and a lost opportunity to share valuable and honest content. And I also feel that these very few but loud voices shouldn't be able to dictate or influence the way content is created and consumed. Now, I'm all for free speech and voicing opinions, and I actually appreciate good civil debate. But it just seems that the way some people choose to communicate on social platforms in a disgusting and disrespectful manner is not the way they would speak to that person face to face. And that's just the definition of a coward. And I'm not talking about constructive critiques or suggestions. I'm talking about misguided, self-righteous BS, which is really nothing more than a failed attempt to make these individuals feel better about their own failures in life. Which is honestly a sad thing, but maybe the only thing they have to cling to. Now, in the context of detailing based content, this comes in the form of some people insisting that you're wasting your time doing certain things, or that you shouldn't be trying to teach others because they're just gonna stuff it up. While at the same time, others are insisting that you have to do things their way. By removing car wheels, you have to do an engine bay and underbody clean, you have to remove car seats and trims, you have to use 20 wash mitts to wash a car, prime every polishing pad, and don't you dare wear a belt buckle, and you better well strip yourself of any jewelry and wrap yourself in microfiber before you even think about touching a car. Or else, you're a hack. The funny thing is that these few but loud voices got their information and developed these strong opinions by watching the very same YouTube videos that they now feel compelled to criticize and mock, as there's basically no chance that a detailing professional or someone with extensive real-world detailing experience and integrity would make these absurd comments. But watch enough videos and spend enough time on forums, and all of a sudden you're the authority on detailing. Not the guy who has built a successful business, not the guy that has done it for decades, not the one that teaches for a living, and certainly not the guy that has built trust and a great reputation with their clients, as these professionals obviously don't know what they're doing, and you can set them straight with your years of experience in internet detailing. Now, self-righteous individuals are always going to exist and act and say things accordingly, because let's face it, that's what self-righteous idiots do, or at least until they wake up and take a good hard look in the mirror. Now, I don't always agree with everything other detailers do. Heck, I don't always agree with everything I do, but I'm not so self-indulgent to think that my way is the only way, and that I've got some magical gift that no one else can do or replicate. So I'm certainly not going to cater to these people or stop making the content that I feel is most valuable, honest, and appreciated by my viewers. And if anyone has a hissy fit because I'm sharing information in my industry, or because I didn't remove the car rims and I'm not going to remove the car seats, then go ahead, have a good cry in the corner, and once you let it all out, come back, let the hate go, and just enjoy the ride. That's it, rant over. Now let's get back to the detail on this magnificent Mercedes. Now, just like paint correction, the safest and most respectful way to clean car leather, or really most interior materials, is with the least aggressive method that works. One tip I can offer when trying to work out which cleaner tool and method you should be using is to test it out on one of the dirtiest areas of the interior, such as the base of the driver's seat, as if it works there, it should really work on any other area. As a starting point, I'm using MV Clean's leather cleaner with a small detailing brush to see if it could potentially do the job, as it is an extremely safe cleaner yet still extremely effective. After a quick test section, I can definitely see a good improvement, but I still need a little more cleaning action to get me there. So for a second test, I stepped up to the CarPro Inner Scrub Mitt with NV Cleanse. This was definitely a much better outcome, and my guess is that if the leather wasn't quite as bad, this would have worked extremely well. But as it stands, I'll still need to hit the section a second time with this method to get there, which basically means doubling my workload, which is gonna blow out the time I have to complete this interior. The third test was using CarPro Inside at a 1:1 dilution on the inner scrub mitt, which ended up working absolutely perfectly. Now, this is generally about as aggressive as I like to get on leather seats, and I've used it dozens and dozens of times with success and zero damage to leather, so I know it's safe and effective. And I've also used CarPro Inside straight when I've needed to, with no issues at all. But again, it's always best to use the least aggressive method that works, and at a 1:1 ratio, CarPro Inside is about half the price, which is also great for me. And you'll hopefully be able to see, once I remove the masking tape, that it was quite a significant result, with the leather returning back to its original shade of colour and textured finish, rather than the grimy, glossy finish that it had become. As I continue cleaning the interior, I'll touch on a few points that may be helpful to some of you. First up, don't underestimate the value of a thorough vacuum and dusting of the interior cabin before you start the wet cleaning stage. I know it may look cool or even feel satisfying to see a muddy foam or extraction liquid as you're wet cleaning the interior, but in many cases, this is because you've done a poor job in your vacuuming and dusting stage. All those looser particles and dirt you don't remove during the dry cleaning stage become little abrasives as you wet clean, which ultimately wear down the interior materials prematurely. So if you care about the longevity of your car's interior, give it a good vacuum and dusting before you even think about using an interior cleaner. Secondly, don't think that a leather cleaner is just for leather. In most cases on my own cars, once I've given them a deep, thorough clean, I really don't use anything but a gentle leather cleaner because I simply don't need anything more aggressive. And I use it not only for leather but also for plastics, rubbers, fabric, and even carpet. Although every brand is different, a general rule of thumb is that a specific leather cleaner will be the least aggressive of all interior cleaners, which usually is followed by a general or plastic and vinyl cleaner, then followed by fabric cleaners, and lastly carpet cleaners, which tend to be the most capable but also the most aggressive interior cleaners. So don't think that these products are magically formulated to only work on these specific materials. as it's more about how aggressive they are and how dirty these materials tend to get. As I've mentioned many times in past videos, steam can actually be used to clean almost any interior material. But for me personally, at least these days, I mostly like to use steam to clean around intricate areas that I can't get my hot water extractor into, and to really flush out and clean a lot of trapped dirt that's hard to otherwise effectively clean or access, or do so more safely. It's also the reason I generally don't need to remove car seats, as I can clean around them just as well. And in this interior clean, steam also helped me remove the sticky, disintegrating rubber coating on a few of the electrical buttons with great success.
Oh, my pretty baby. Oh, my sweet baby. I just can't believe I'm yours. Every day I look at you and I think I must have done something good to deserve you. I'm not superstitious, it's just a suspicion, but I feel it in my bones. Ever since the day we met, I just knew I must have done something good to deserve you. Perhaps I was the doctor saving people's lives in danger. Oh yeah, I must have done something. Perhaps I was a pirate and I donated my treasure. Oh yeah, I must have done something. Or maybe I was kinda I rewinded all my videos. Oh yeah, I must have done something. Well anyway, I hope that you don't think that I'm delirious. Oh yeah, I must have done something. 'Cause baby, when we kiss, I feel that sort of bliss I didn't really think existed. I feel it calling.
Now the method you saw me use earlier on the car mats is the same method I use to clean the carpets by firstly pre-treating them with the carpet cleaner and brush, followed by extracting them out with my hot water extractor, which again worked extremely well to remove the minor staining from the disintegrating car mats and restore them back to their light and bright factory finish. Now, I started using IPA cleaners to clean glass a few years back, and I've honestly never looked back. Overall, they are more expensive than glass cleaners, but in all honesty, how much glass cleaner do you really go through? For me, it's really not that much. I also get asked a lot about whether they are safe for window tint, and the answer is yes, completely safe. One tip I can offer though is to be a little more generous with the amount you apply, and that also goes for using standard glass cleaners, as it really does in my experience greatly help to break down and remove that layer of grime on interior glass far more easily, as well as help to finish streak-free much easier. So we're almost there guys, with the final step of dressing and adding a protective layer to the finish of this beautiful interior. For this I'm using NV Nourish, which again is described as more of a leather sealant or even quick detailer, but in my experience it works extremely well on almost any material and lasts much longer than a quick detailer, though it applies just as easy as one. Now you can use Nourish in a spray and wipe manner as a quick detailer, even to do some light maintenance cleaning. But in my experience, if you want it to act more like a standalone sealant, it's best to use it with a foam or microfiber applicator and work it over the trims section by section, and you can even then apply a second coat immediately after you finish the first one, which should give you months of durability. It's not going to create any shine or gloss at all, but it will most certainly add saturation and richness to give you that new factory finish look. I'll let you guys judge the finish for yourselves with the finished shots of this interior, but after spending an entire day on it, I personally couldn't have been more happy and pleased with the outcome. I hope you guys stay tuned for part 2 of this series, which will be the all time consuming part of paint correction, and that will hopefully be coming up soon. As always, I really hope you guys enjoyed and found this video useful. Please share this video, like, comment and subscribe to this channel to show your support for this content, and I'll see you guys soon.
Winter is freezing and trees start to bolt, and I don't wanna be sitting alone in a room that's just filled with my soul. And so I came to this place, I'm looking for a familiar face, and that's when I saw you. 'Cause you don't know me and I don't know you, but it breaks my heart. You're looking so blue on the last of the year. I just picked your name on the coffee cup, but a stroke of luck, the guy just messed up and gave your cup to me. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. So we're swapping our cups, and after a while we're swapping a glance. And I can't think nothing better than started a year with a drop of romance. 'Cause I came to this place looking for a familiar face, and that's when I met you. 'Cause you don't know me and I don't know you, but it breaks my heart. You're looking so blue on the first of the year. I just picked your name on the coffee cup, but a stroke of luck, the guy just messed up and gave your cup.